welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Khaki, and I am functioning at about 60% right now. You might have seen the title of today's video, and I have to confess something, and that is that it is a little bit of clickbait, just a little bit. It is true that I no longer have a boyfriend, and that is because I have a fiance. I'm so not that girl. Like, we've been together 5 years. I'm really excited about it. He's the love of my life. He's my best friend. And one more thing about him, that would be my dog. One more important thing to know about Mike, my fiance, before you see this video, is that he refuses to be on camera. There is one video that he actually agreed to be in years ago, back when I first started my channel, where you can see exactly how much he hates being on camera, and I will just go ahead and stick a clip of that in right here, if I can find it.
It's bad, but it tastes like fucking balloons.
I mean, I'm not in frame anymore. Get in frame. What would you?
I think it's meatloaf.
2 left. Alright, ADD, come on. This doesn't take that long. I have a feeling that this one is gonna be...
I'm like...
No, Mike, you can't be out. There's 4 chips you have to eat. It's not out.
But Bruce is like...
Mike!
Can't really play it.
Mike!
I don't want it.
Stop being a bad sport. You're being a bad sport. Mike, you're ruining my video. Stop it. During that video, he threatened to quit at least 3 times. Like, he hates it. He does not want to be famous, even though he is so beautiful. He could definitely be a movie star. That's just my completely humble and unbiased opinion. So I will be doing the fiance tag today. All about me and him and our relationship as if it were a Q&A, but I'm gonna do it by myself. Because he would be the grumpiest grump on camera. Maybe one day, far into the future, I will bribe him into it or something like that, but you're not gonna see Mike on camera. I do catch him every once in a while on my vlog channel, but don't tell him. I haven't done a tag on my channel probably in like 3 years, so let's do this. We got 20 questions sitting here before me, and I don't know if all of them necessarily apply to someone trying to do it by themselves, so we will just see. When is my birthday? What is my sign? So Mike's birthday is February the 19th, which makes him like an Aquarius Pisces cusp, I think, but if there's anybody who rolls their eyes at all of my astrology stuff, it's Mike. So, I mean, I'm an Aries, do with that what you will, but he is like the most zen person ever. Like, he's like a born Taoist, like he lives completely in the moment, and that's my nice way of saying that he has really bad ADD, but he is like one of those people that is so not easily flustered and handles stress incredibly well. He's never really had a need for like spirituality in his life. He's just kind of already there, but he definitely does not believe in all the astrology and everything like that. He thinks it's really funny. Next question is, where did I grow up? I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. He grew up in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, which is just like right outside of the city. And so he actually proposed in Gramercy Park. He got a hotel room at the Gramercy Park Hotel, and then in the morning we had to get let into Gramercy Park because it is the only private park in New York City, and so like the concierge had to let us in, and then he's like, you have to call the front desk to get let back out because once you're in, you're locked in. We were like, okay. And so he walked me to like the front of the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve, and he proposed. So that's pretty awesome. What is my middle name? My middle name is Ryan. You guys don't even know my real name. I'm gonna tell you. It's Kevin Ryan. Most people, like, if you look at my like Spotify or if you look at my email address or anything like that, it's Kevin. My real given name is Kevin. But why would you know that? Because I'm Khaki on here, but I am Khaki to everybody. I can tell you guys that story at some point if you really want to know like how I became Khaki, but I will tell you it happened while I was an infant. It was not something that I just thought of as some like cool nickname later on in life. It's just not my given legal name. And his middle name is actually Harrison. It's his dad's middle name and his brother's middle name. And it is because they are descended, I believe, from William Henry Harrison. And so his dad is really like stoked on that. And so he just wants that to be everybody's middle name. What kind of books do I like? And by I mean Mike. Mike really loves nonfiction. He is like a super history buff. He's like a trivia buff. He's the person who helps me with all of the really nerdy clues on my New York Times crossword puzzles. I'll always just kind of hand him my iPad and be like, help, because like I know nothing about war history. I know nothing about like sports stats and stuff like that. Like, he's really, really humble about it, but he's also really well educated and just very well read. And so he's the person who brings news into my life. Like, I'm definitely an NPR person. We're both like big NPR people, but but he's the kind of person who like reads the New York Times every day. Like he just really, really likes to like consume historical knowledge. What kind of movies or television programs do I watch? So we watch a lot of stuff together that's really lighthearted because once I'm done being stressed out by my day, I really like to just watch something kind of mindless. I'll either watch YouTube or we've been like binging the Mindy Project lately. But if Mike is watching something by himself, he always waits to watch all the bloodiest stuff because I don't want to watch that stuff. He's like, well, you know, do you care what I watch? And it's like, if I can hear, because he's kind of deaf, that's a whole other story. He will watch it like in the next room and he'll be like, do you care what I watch? I'm like, as long as it doesn't have like a bunch of gunshots in it, because like it drives me crazy. So he'll actually go upstairs to his like living room and just watch, you know, Peaky Blinders and like Breaking Bad and what's the other, Narcos, you know, just like all the really, really just like gory stuff that like I just don't need a mental image for. Like he always watches that kind of stuff by himself. When, how, or where did we meet? So we met a little over 5 years ago and we met at work. We were both working at an ad agency. He had worked there for a lot longer than I had, and actually the way that we first met was when we were having a big company meeting right after I had just started. And I asked a question about kind of bureaucracy and having to do with like us hiring a board or something like that, and you know, whether that was going to affect the nimbleness of the company because we were a startup and blah blah blah. And all of the dudes at the company had like this like power crush on our CEO, and like he stood up and just like defended the CEO's decision and blah blah blah, and I was just like, oh, that guy's kind of a dick. And even if he's not a dick, he definitely hates me. And then I ended up asking to work on a particular account, not realizing that that would make him my boss. And they granted my wish because I wanted to work on this one client, and he ended up being my boss. And we were just like, shit, you know, like he all of a sudden was just like, hey, I'm really sorry, I don't really know why I was like that. I just kind of like was, you know, I don't know, it was like a pissing contest or something. He's like, I just felt like I needed to say something. And I was like, okay. Turns out he had like kind of had a crush on me since day one. And so like I remember I was talking to him like in the kitchen at work one day, and I looked up as I was like answering something he had asked me, and he had like this like gooey expression on his face, and I was like, oh shit, because I was in a 3-year relationship at the time with my ex-boyfriend, and so realizing that your boss has a crush on you is a little bit troubling at the time, but it all ended up okay. It took kind of like a few months for me to do a lot of like inventory on my life and realize that my like absentee boyfriend at the time like was not going to really like pan out for the future, and that he wasn't really valuing the relationship that much, and that I was kind of being taken for granted, and that I wasn't really in love with him, and that all these feelings that I was having for Mike were real, and like this is what it felt like to really, really like be attracted to somebody. And so it was actually a pretty organic thing. It was kind of weird how it all fell into place. Then after the holidays, like after the big crunch of retail advertising during the holidays, our boss, like the guy that managed both of us, kind of realized that we were in a relationship, and no questions asked, just put me on a different account. Didn't like bother with it any further than that, and was just like, cool, okay, we're gonna just, you know, switch khaki to this, and that's fine. And like from then on out, there was like no conflict of interest, and we have been together ever since. It's kind of something that like everybody at the company knew, and it was totally fine. We work at different companies now, but that's how we met. Where did we go on our first date? Our first date, I think, was actually during work. This is a really funny story, actually. So in our line of work, you can do what's called landing page tests. I won't go into that, it's very boring, but he kind of set up a contest between me and the other person he was training to see who could do the best landing page test, and they both went horribly, and he kept helping me revise mine so that it would do better, and literally by the end of the landing page test, I had a 1% statistical significance, and the other guy had 0%, and so I won by a landslide. By design, because the prize was lunch with the boss. So that's just, it's like kind of some kind of sick nepotism. Definitely not HR friendly, but we didn't have an HR department at the time, so no shade. So yeah, he ended up just like on his own dollar, like took me out to lunch at work one day, and it was like our first date where we just kind of like were like, I really like you, like whatever. It's really fun. What is my best friend's name? Ollie. My ex-best friend's name is Ollie. That is our dog. They are together more than he and I are together. I was at his work Christmas party, and one of his coworkers confided in me. He was like, he doesn't talk about you that much, but when he does, it's really sweet. but he talks about the dog a lot. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, Mike's best friend is Ollie. They hang out more than he hangs out with anybody else. What kind of music do I listen to? So Mike really likes what I call sad bastard shit. He calls it drifter shit. Singer-songwriter stuff. He loves like Dwight Yoakam and Justin Townes Earl, just, you know, like really, really troubled dudes who write really, really like gutted lyrics. And then he also is like head over heels obsessed with Bruce Springsteen because New Jersey. You know, do with that what you will. He's definitely got his allegiances. He also really likes Billy Joel. But yeah, Bruce Springsteen is like numero uno. What color are his eyes? His eyes are like a hazel. They're like green with like a light brown around the sides. So under what circumstances did you meet my family? I first met his mom and his aunt when they came to town for him running the marathon a really long time ago, and that was like 2013. And then his mom came back to town for his birthday, took us all out to dinner to Justine's here in Austin, which is still one of my favorite restaurants here. She came back actually in rapid succession for Mike's ear surgeries that he had. So he's had 3 ear surgeries, and she's been here for all of them. He had poorly developed eustachian tubes, so it kind of made everything really congested in his head and in his ears, and he didn't realize that over time he had actually pulled his eardrums through just from like creating a suction like that. And then it also eroded one of the 3 really important bones in your ear that kind of like helps you make sound, that like vibrate so that you make sound. So he's had each of those kind of replaced in his ear. He had to do one twice. So she and I got to really bond while we were kind of taking care of him through those surgeries. So that's what I mean when I say he's kind of deaf. He just doesn't hear very well, and it's because of that. He just has like, you know, repaired eardrums. Who is the dominant one in our relationship? Both of us. We are, and it was actually one of the first things that we had to like have like a heart-to-heart about in our relationship, was the fact that we are both alphas. We both have really, really like strong wills, and we both have a lot of opinions, and we're both pretty stubborn. He was the first person where I was in a relationship and I would say something that I thought was just like really true, and like, I really mean this, and it's because like I know better and blah blah blah. And he was the first person who would push back against me and be like, you're guilty of exactly the same thing, and here's, you know, 5 examples of why. And I'd be like, oh. Oh. And it was really humbling for me, but also I think that that is like a recipe for sustainability, is that we both continue to challenge each other, and neither of us is like only trying to show one side of ourselves to the other. I don't know, we don't put on a show for each other. We're not, I mean, I don't want to say we're not scared of hurting each other's feelings or something like that, but like, we don't let stuff fester. We really like to just kind of like keep stuff out in the open. If one of us is in kind of a gnarly mood, the other one will say like, hey, you're in a gnarly mood, like why are you being so stinky? Just kind of have that sort of rapport with each other. And you know, sometimes it gets kind of childish where we're just kind of like, no you are, but like most of the time it's really productive, instead of us just being like passive aggressive and like going into our respective corners and then just like letting it like stew. Yeah, we just keep stuff out in the open. What are my tics or weird behaviors? So Mike has ADD, so when we are like going to a restaurant or something, like when we were driving in the car, he's hungry, obviously, and hunger just like takes his ADD to like another level, and he just gets really, really funny. Like he'll ask me a question and I can't get like 2 words into answering the question before he's just like reading all the signs out loud that he's seeing as we're driving down the road. Like it's just pure chaos. It's like someone's just like changing the channels maniacally, like and it's hilarious. I just have to be like, okay, we gotta feed this kid. Also, I can tell how many beers he's had. Like beer number 1 and 2 are just kind of like meh, but like if he's had 3, he went to a basketball game the other night with his friend, and like he Ubered there and back, so I like wasn't worried about it or anything, but he came back and he was chatty, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna guess he's had a couple of beers, and because he's just not really an emotive person, and like I can tell when he's like getting chatty and getting like excited about telling me something that he's probably had a couple of beers. But then we're like standing there in the bathroom and he does this thing where he just like gets done with a thought and then he goes, and like nervously, like he can't find the next words, but he knows he should probably like keep talking because he's just like excited about it. And I'm like, that's 3 beers. That is at least 3 beers. And he's just like, dang it. My weird tics or behaviors, this drives him absolutely insane. The fact that even though I'm sick right now, during any time, any time, like I leave a trail of tissues in my wake. It runs in my family. My mother does the same thing. I come by it naturally, and I try so hard to clean them up on my way out of a room or something like that, but like my car is a nightmare, like I have a tissue problem, and he knows it and he hates it. What is usually the subject of our arguments? Honestly, it is never anything big. It's usually like a tone of voice thing. Like, he's from the Northeast, I'm from the South, and he will, you know, just say something really like quick to me, and I'll just be like, what is that supposed to mean? You know, like, it's never anything big. It's usually just something like, you know, you don't have to use that tone with me, or blah, 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 and it's just like, oh, well, you're already in a bad mood. It's like, oh, well, you already blah, 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 and then we're both just like, like, it's just stupid. It just runs its course really quickly. We don't really argue about anything big. Now that we're planning a wedding, I would say that like the biggest argument is that I want to go really quickly with it because we've been dating for 5 years, and I'm just like, I have all these like ideas, plus I love to get stuff squared away. I don't like to save it until the end. And he's very, like I said, like very Taoist. He's very like, it'll get done in its own time, and I'm like, when I do it, that's kind of causing a little bit of a clash because I'm just really intense about getting stuff done right out of the gate, and he's just like, you know, I'll get to the list when I get to the list, and I'm just like, well, but we can't send out invites until we get a date, and we can't get a date until we get a venue, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, I need to chill a little bit. He might need to like put a little fire under his butt a little bit, and we will meet in the middle somewhere. So that is pretty much the source of our arguments. What will I spend hours doing if I could? For him, it would be watching football, hanging out with the dog, day drinking with his friends, talking about the dog. That's about it. He's got very core interests, most of them revolving around the dog. Me? What would I spend hours doing if I could? Probably watching YouTube. And I probably do. And I'm not sorry. What kind of cake would I want on my birthday? Oh, funny story actually. So last year, and I may have told this in a video, I can't remember. Last year, he was out of town right before his birthday. So he got back, and I had made him a cake, and he loves carrot cake. And so I made him a carrot cake from scratch. And I'm gluten intolerant, so I made a cake for him. And so he's, you know, he cuts into it, and he's eating it. He's like, oh, this is so good. And then I go into the kitchen, and I grab a slice. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I didn't want to tell you, because then I knew you'd judge it accordingly. But now that you told me that you think it's really good, I can tell you that it's gluten-free. I made it all, like, all natural, all organic, all gluten-free. And he was just like, damn it, it's really good though. And I was like, I know. So yeah, I made him a sneaky gluten-free cake for his birthday last year, but it was like a really, really delicious carrot cake with a bunch of like nuts in it and stuff. It was awesome. So that is his favorite. Anytime we go back during the year, not usually during Christmas because we have so many other treats, but a lot of times if we go back to New Jersey during the year, his mom will go and get him just like a really cute little like personal size like slice of carrot cake just because he's coming. It's really cute. Where would I live if I could live anywhere in the world? If you could concoct some kind of fantasy land that has snowy mountains and hiking all day long as well as beach, that's where Mike would want to live. I think he would ideally live either like in Colorado or like the wilderness of Montana or like New Zealand. And I want to live in like La Jolla. I want to live where the weather never changes and I can go and visit seals anytime I want. Oh. Where did we go for our first road trip or vacation? This is kind of a bad story. We went camping, backcountry camping. It was my first time ever going backcountry camping. He's a big outdoorsman. Like, he's just very good at going long periods of time without eating, and he's very good at planning for like carrying all of his stuff on his back and all this stuff, and he was just like, you wanna go backcountry camping? And I had just gotten out of this really nasty, just like bogged down 3-year relationship, and I was just in this mode of saying yes to everything. Like, I was like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, well, you know, backcountry's kind of hard, and I'm like, yes, and he's just like, do you want to go over spring break? And I was like, yes, and I was just like, you know, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. Did not know that I was gluten intolerant yet at the time. It was right before I went on an elimination diet and figured it out. Also, had a yeast infection. That was awesome. 10 out of 10. Recommend. Definitely hike like 17 miles a day with a yeast infection. Do it. We were subsisting on like granola and oranges, and to say I was hangry is putting it so gently. Mike never tells the story without mentioning how he learned of my hanger on that trip. Not only that, I was extremely sick. I was like hotboxing the tent with farts every night. It was really awful. We had a great time somehow. We went to Marfa too. This actually went to Big Bend. That was where we went hiking for like 3 days, and like literally just like camped out, like had to hike like, you know, 10 miles to our campsite kind of thing. And then we went to Marfa, and Marfa's like not that great, I don't really get the appeal, and so we ended up staying in Alpine one night, and I have been in the service industry for so long that I just like made friends with the bartender, and he was so nice, and he was giving us all these free drinks and everything, and I got so drunk that I started throwing up, and I like ruined our one night in the hotel room. And I remember that was when, like right when the Beyonce documentary came out, and he had this like, "Kag, the Beyonce documentary is on," and I'm like throwing up in the toilet, and I was like, "She can't see me like this." It was pathetic. To say that we've come a long way since then is an understatement. But yeah, that was our first vacation together. What is the first thing that I do in the morning? So Mike sleeps in. Mike has actually a pattern where he either wakes up at 5 a.m. and can't go back to sleep, or he sleeps until 9:30. And so it's usually one of us making coffee, and then he usually either like, you know, reads the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or something, and then like takes the dog for a walk. Basically, his life just revolves around the dog. What's the first thing I do in the morning? I do the New York Times crossword puzzle. So we're just kind of old farts, and it's awesome, and I love it. What is the best day of my childhood? For Mike, I think that would probably be any day that he got to celebrate a birthday, because I'm pretty sure every birthday in his entire childhood was Batman themed. Like, he just loves Batman so much. He like still loves Batman. One of our cats is named Bruce Wayne. Her monster was almost named Catman because he has kind of like a Batman mask. So yeah, I hope that gives you some insight into my invisible fiance, who, you know, you at least know what he looks like now, and you guys can see him in my like Instagram pictures every once in a while and stuff. He just really shies away from the camera, and like I said, he just doesn't want to be famous. I think that he knows that if his face were to hit the internet, all of my videos would go viral because he's so beautiful, and he just doesn't want that kind of responsibility. He doesn't want to make me feel bad for having had a YouTube channel for 3 years that's just kind of doing mediocre, and then he puts his face on there and everything blows up. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of understand. So, guys, if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out on this channel, I'm going to be doing some cool, like, wedding videos coming up. We're going to be trying some, like, products to get my face and my body and my hair and everything ready for being a blushing bride. And so, yeah, stay tuned for that. And, guys, I love you. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you as soon as possible.